Resume. All right. Well, welcome everybody and good morning and welcome to those that may watch this later. We're so excited to have you here because I have a special guest today and really talking about an assessment that was a game changer for me. And we use a lot of assessments in what we do. And so that's a big statement. So Natalie is a seasoned executive, but also a seasoned Enneagram coach, has been studying it for years, and she's going to join us in just a few minutes. I have just a couple of intro things. But first thing I'd love for you to do, because we'd like to circle back to this when we're talking about the Enneagram, is just imagine if your brain was a phone. Okay. Thankfully, it isn't. We don't need a data plan. We do have to upgrade occasionally, but thankfully we can do that on our own. What would be an app that's running quietly in the background and draining your battery right now? So if you don't mind putting that in chat, just the nature of it, just is it prioritizing? Is it a project that you're working with? Is it, those wonderful family challenges that show up? Just give us the nature of that in chat. But the other thing that I would love for you to do in chat is just let us know what industry that you're coming from. Maybe it's education or healthcare or construction. Um, so just letting us know is always really helpful too, because lots of people are joining in and watch the recording, and it's just really helpful to see all the different perspectives. So if you haven't ever attended one of our leading labs, here was the whole vision behind it. And one of those is that we could bring people together from different industries, hopefully build some connections, and also just share best practices across industries. The other idea was just to bring you together for a meaningful 45 minutes and dive into a topic that's relevant in the moment and give you some information, maybe some insight, even better, some encouragement and inspiration because what you do is so important. And then we send you back out on your way. So we really do try to stick to the 45 minutes. However, always hang around. So if anybody wants to hang around and talk about anything after, I'm all about it. So just take a minute and chat to do that. I think one of the biggest things is that no one should ever get up in the morning and go to a workplace where they can't be the best version of themselves. And that's what gets me up every morning. How do we more and more and more equip leaders that are really worth following? And the other piece of it too, though, is like why leaders have such an influence over whether or not those work hours are meaningful or miserable. At the same time, as a leader, you've got so much on your shoulders. There are things that are keeping you up at night that maybe aren't keeping other people up at night. And it's while we shouldn't have to go to work in a place that isn't allowing us to be the best version of ourselves, as a leader, you shouldn't have to be a lesser version of yourself. It's about how do you create that success and be a high performing, motivating leader without the soul sucking, part of it of burnout. We don't want that. So that's the idea behind Leading Lab is to bring you some topics, maybe allow you to get to know some of the other people in the group a little bit and send you back out. So we're going to jump into it, but I have a couple announcements. One is big celebration. If AWS is back on, it is up on Amazon, at least the paperback version. Yay! So oh, I guess it was the week before last, we actually got to celebrate in Times Square with the publisher, which was a ton of fun. And the weather was nice until we left, and then it really got kind of crazy out there. So we were just very fortunate, and it was just so much fun. And let me tell you, those billboards, they go fast when they're rotating. So you have to jump out there really quick to get your picture made. And so anyway, good morning, Jerry. It's so good to see you. Aren't you excited to see? I love you, Jerry. We have another big announcement, which is we're going to do a book launch party on Friday morning, December 5th. And we're going to be together from around 8:30 to 12, or those who want to hang around, we'll stay till 8:30 p.m. We don't care. But we're going to do a book launch party. And if there's any way you can just like save the date, we have more details coming. But man, we'd love for you to be there. And I'll tell you, there's going to be a special something something for those of you who went on the website and signed up early to be on the first to know list. So if you haven't done that and you're like, I want that special something something, you still have time. So you could go on and just be on the first to know list, and we'll get back with you with more details. But we're going to jump in. So in the book, we detail 7 strategies, and throughout this whole year of Leading Lab, we've just been focusing on a different strategy each month. And today we're going to focus on the mosaic strategy. In 2019, I wrote a book and I was calling that strategy multiple intelligences because our brain, it's very different in how we take in information and how we express information. And our brain has all these differences, but that word just never really captured what I really wanted the intent of this strategy to be. And so while Chat GPT can do a lot of amazing things for us, I think the most important thing sometimes is to wait for the divine download, is what I call it. I was just grappling with this strategy. Like, how do I reword this so that, hey, it's got to still fit in my cranium methodology, but it really captures all the differences and all the similarities, all the good that we bring, all the heaviness that we bring to work every day. And I was in the middle of the night. This happens often. I woke up and it was just, that was it. It was the mosaic. And so it was a really neat moment to actually have a word that could capture these intricacies. And so one little snippet from the book in this chapter is thinking about how do we really leverage differences and what is this whole idea around inclusion. So in the book, just talking about a mosaic, when you think about it, a mosaic unites individual fragments, all these broken pieces to come together to form a lasting masterpiece. So similarly, when we're talking about the mosaic strategy, it's to illustrate that the full potential of any system, whether that is a brain, a team, or an organization, or a family, or a community, or a world, is realized only when individual elements are purposefully aligned to a greater vision. The mosaic strategy recognizes that every interaction with another human being, it's so complex. It's probably the most sophisticated thing that we do, but we forget. It really is a complex encounter of thoughts, experiences, biases, beliefs, strengths, weaknesses, all those experiences. And it's about how do we truly honor, value, and welcome everyone to the table. So I'm going to show you a quick video. It's going to be 2 minutes. It's going to feel like 20 of what this process looks like. Especially those of you who are high on D, on DISC. Can you imagine? just the intricacies. And I think it's such a beautiful way to think about how do you use all of those fragments, those differences when you think about in a team and a culture for good in a united vision. Whew. So if it feels like it's hard sometimes, it's because it is. And one way, how do you get a sense of all of those pieces that you have available to you individually, but even in your team? And it doesn't take 15, 20 years to get there. One of the tools is through assessments. Assessments are just one way that we could kind of fast track getting a better sense of what are all those pieces that I have available to use in my own life, but also with my team. So we use a lot of assessments, but one of those is the one we're going to highlight today, which is the Enneagram. And the Enneagram is one of those that really allowed me to see a lot more pieces of myself. So, Natalie, thank you for joining us today to talk about the Enneagram. And even if you haven't taken it, there's still a lot that you can learn as you talk about what makes this assessment unique. So thanks for joining us, Natalie.
You're
Big round
welcome.
of applause.
Thanks. Thanks for
Plug
having
your
me in.
walk-up song, all the things.
Good morning, everybody. I love that video, but also the thought of the mosaic where as Sherry said all those broken pieces fit together, whether they're strengths, struggles, triggers, all of that is who we are. And it's not about fixing what's broken. It's about the self-awareness to understand what fits in that picture and what doesn't. And we get to choose those things. That's the power. So how many of you have been exposed to the Enneagram or know your type? If you do, stick it in the chat real quick. Um, and we're gonna take a little trip back in time here. So unless you are driving, um, go ahead and Sherry, if you want to show us the picture.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, um, I'm gonna an invitation to you to visit your childhood. I promise we won't stay there long, but just go with me here. So, unless you're driving, just close your eyes for a second. Think back to your earliest memory, somewhere between maybe 3 and 6. And if that memory is an uncomfortable place, travel forward just a little bit till you have one that's comfortable to sit with for a minute. Notice what's around you, the smells, the activity. What are you holding? What toys are special to you in this moment? What are the feelings that maybe you're experiencing? Um, Maybe it's a memory of someone being proud of you, or you got in a heap of trouble, or somebody took your favorite toy, or you held back something that you really wanted to say, or you felt special. Maybe it's the first time you really felt loved or accepted. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to ponder a few questions. And those are these that I've put up on the slide. And I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of background. So just go ahead and answer those questions. How did you get attention as a child? What belief did you form about how the world works? And what do you automatically do to survive and thrive in that world? So we'll give you about 5 minutes to just think through that. Got about a minute left. All right, everybody, if you want to come back and join us. So the story is what we tell ourselves about who we have to be loved, to stay safe, to belong. It's how we survived in our world, and we were very good at it. We were brilliant at surviving as little people. So um, for you, was it maybe being good or being helpful, being fun, being easygoing, successful? If you've got a word, a being whatever, go ahead and put that in the chat. Performed, helpful, quiet, involved. Some good words. Accomplished, helpful, independent, liked. Yeah. Rule follower, smart. Yeah. Lots of us in the healthcare field will really identify with that helpful. We have an overabundance of those in the healthcare field. So over time, if you repeat that story enough, if it happens frequently enough, we become wired that way, and we make up a rule or a belief forms. So maybe it's the world is harsh, only strong people are safe in it. I'm loved when I'm helpful. Knowledge is king. I need to be prepared for worst case scenario. Those are some of the rules that um, we form and we start to understand as we start to understand how our world works. So for me, um, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. In first grade, about age 6, I saw people getting attention for being the first one to finish or getting good grades, whatever that looks like in first grade. So I started being the first to complete every task in school. I was always the first to turn in my test, no matter what it was. I was first. It was a competition. It was serious. And the only acceptable grade for me, it turns out all the way through college, was an A, and B's just were not acceptable in my world. So you can imagine what that looked like. The rule I created was that the world values winners and achievement. Um, Sherry, I know you and I have talked some. Do you want to share yours?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because uh, my mom says when I started kindergarten, I told her I'm going to be in everything. And that was a big thing for me is how to get into attention, get involved. I mean, that was always next fun thing is was a big one. And um, you know, the belief that I've formed about the world is just in writing that right now was that like it's better to have fun than to feel pain. um, Like if anything it was just like, let's stay busy and let's just move on to the next fun thing. And then you don't have to really feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really powerful, powerful stuff. Does anybody feeling brave and want to share their story and the belief that it created?
For me, it was. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I came from a large family, but mine mine was a lot different. My thing was like I put in there independence. So mine, I always did my own thing. I always stayed away from everybody. I was absolutely against. I mean, absolutely against doing anything because anybody else is doing it. And
Mm,
I and it was internal. It was just something I hated doing something just because somebody else is doing it. And but yeah, it it uh it made me inadvertently, or I wasn't even aware, but I did see it later on. It made me become an achiever because of the fact that anything I wanted, anything I needed, anything that I felt needed to be done, I did myself because I hated asking somebody else to help me because I wanted to be on my own. I wanted to do it myself. So, like, I left home when I was a junior in high school. And so I thought it was funny. It never even dawned on me, but somebody made a comment in my senior class, and somebody made a comment, and then uh, it didn't even dawn on me that nobody even knew that
yeah.
I was working on that. I lived on my own, that paying my own electric car payments. I had three different jobs, and the teachers knew and the school knew, and but nobody else knew. The other students never knew, and then that kind of it just I was completely unaware of how it's a good and a bad thing, but
Yeah.
it was something I realized at that point that I was how extensively I was independent. I was too independent. I needed to be a
Yeah.
little more. But
Yeah.
it also taught me to be an achiever because if there was anything I needed or anything I wanted, I would just go do it.
Yeah. And you just kind of mentioned the rule, which is, if there are several rules in there, if I want something done, I need to do it myself. And I didn't, the world values people who go get it themselves and who achieve. Kristen, thanks for sharing, David. I see your hand up.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, very similar, David. The first word, it's such a valuable exercise. Thank you, Natalie.
You're
It was
welcome.
just perform. So I was four and apparently a gifted piano player. So it just came naturally. But from the moment that first little twinkle, twinkle, little stars poured out on the little keyboard by ear, it was just pure performance. So the rule, the words, the language that I sort of picked up at that age was you have to do. You have to do. So
Yeah.
I liked what you said there. The world values achievement and total overachiever here. So yeah, I absolutely lived that out. And it's crazy because then I was thinking back as that little girl who is not emotionally ready. Because my mom wanted me on stages and everything became this performance from so young, literally on stages and musical theaters and stuff like that. It was just pressure. That's the best word I could describe what I thought. I hated it. So what did I do? I rebelled. I rebelled so badly that my mom sent me to a child psychologist at 5. And then I felt shame, like, oh, this is bad. This is secret. You're not supposed to share that as a little girl. They put me into school early. I went to school at 4 as well, literally grade R, I think they call it today. I turned 5 that year. So it was just pressure and performance and achievement and no
Yeah.
fun. No fun. Like I didn't get fun. So
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I can definitely identify with those things. And it's powerful. Like you guys are experiencing the power of those early experiences um, and just how it takes hold and how it plays out over our lifetime. So once that belief takes hold, we create a coping strategy around it. So we create patterns, behaviors that we use to stay safe. Safety is a big part of this. To get along in our family, to, get along, do what we needed to do at school, to be recognized. So for me, even as young as first grade, my coping strategy was to be the best, to win, to achieve. And you all are, I'm sure I'm seeing heads nod like, yeah, that I see that. Where it became challenging for me, at least, was when I inserted at any cost. So I relationships didn't matter. I had to win. I had to be the first. I had to achieve. So when we look back, it's pretty clear that our story, our rules, and our strategy were brilliant adaptations. Like they did what they were supposed to do. They helped us stay safe, to get attention. They helped us make sense of the relationships that we were experiencing, getting along as babies really in this world. And the important thing to notice is it's still there. It stays with you through your whole life. Um, and the more a strategy works, the more automatic it becomes. So you mentioned, David, like you didn't even realize, and people could see it, but we don't often, just because it becomes that it's part of your subconscious. It happens without us really knowing.
Yeah,
So,
Natalie, it's so good because your brain, number one, above all, wants to keep you safe.
right.
And to think about that formed so long ago, that is a well-worn neural network. That belief feels so true. And then to think about how is that impacting how we're coping today is mind-blowing,
Yeah.
really.
Um, so so let's just think about kind of a universal example, something that we most of us can relate to. So let's say you've made a mistake. How many of you have accidentally included the person that you were venting about on an email or a group text? And what, based on your coping strategy or your rule or belief about how the world works, how does that play out for you? So for some people, you might have panic about hurting someone's feelings, or um, you may go into image management control, right? Like I've got to make sure that what people see is okay. Like I've got to fix that so that everybody still sees me as the achiever or the one who gets it right. Um, anybody have a how I reacted to that situation that they want to share?
I can share. It wasn't my comment that I made. We were on a neighborhood chat, and some of us were talking about the next door neighbor not, grooming their yard, and she was a young tenant. And one of our older neighbors, she, just ranted, when are they gonna cut the yard, and when are they gonna fix the bushes? And I'm a I don't know my Enneagram number, but I'm more of a woo. Like I want to make sure everybody's okay.
Yeah.
I want everyone to excel and look good and, for
Yeah.
things to be okay. So then I went into like making sure that our neighbor who this other person was venting about was okay. So then I texted her on the side and just said, hey, if you need help with your lawn, just let us know. We have all the tools.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
did go into panic mode. It wasn't even my comment.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just mind my business.
No, I mean that's how you're wired. That's the beauty of this mosaic, this life that we've created, this person that we are, is all those pieces fit together. And the world needs those people. The world, otherwise things get wildly out of hand. So so that's, if there's one message I think here, it's that it's okay to be who you are. We need who you are. But it's about recognizing who you are so that you're not on autopilot all of the time. Um, so let's slow down just for a second and
And
note.
Natalie, just to add one more
Yeah,
thing, like I
yeah,
love that, but it's also that awareness that not, and I know we know this, when we're not in the moment, but just appreciating that everybody around us has a different lens through which they're
yeah,
seeing a situation like that. And
absolutely.
just to remember the complexity of it. So good.
Right. Yeah. So and it's really, again, it's the self-awareness, it's understanding and seeing all of those things, not necessarily to judge them, but just to see how it formed, to be able to kind of step aside and look into our brain and see the things that are going on in there. And over time, those patterns start to form an invisible structure around us, almost like a box that we're in, that we built, but didn't realize we built. Because again, it kept us safe, it got us recognized. So let's talk for a minute about the box. And you've started to see how all of those things fit together, your story, your rule, your coping strategy. And um, what what I want you to see here is that um, what kept you safe, what got you attention, what helped you belong, it's familiar and protective, but sometimes it's confining. So, um, so what we want to do is give you a little bit of language around the box, and I will show you what my box looks like.
The next slide.
So,
Yeah.
thanks to Gemini, this is what my box looks like. Gemini and I had a great time putting this together. Um, so the walls of our box are formed from those early strategies. So the self-image is the story we tell ourselves. That's really the blueprint that shapes everything that gets built. Um, the windows are our worldview. That's how we see the world, or the rule that we create. Our core motivation, which is a word that you see frequently when people talk about the Enneagram, that's the core drive. It's the electricity that lights up the lights inside, that the same circuits get lit up over and over again. That's your coping strategy. And then outside your box, you've got your little defense dog. I'm not sure he would really be super defensive, but he'd make a lot of noise at the very least. And then our triggers, and those act sort of like motion sensors. When somebody rubs up against your box, you you're ready to sound the alarm, and that's something that happens automatically. Again, it goes back to those early experiences, and it happens without us knowing. I mean, I, how many of us get triggered, on a daily basis with something, whether it's at work or with our kids or our families, whatever it is. So that's what I mean when I talk about the box. And I don't want people to say, or feel like they've gotten boxed in by having someone create a label. It is absolutely not about that. That Enneagram does not put you in the box. It shows you the box that you've built. And we each build our box a little bit differently. Again, going back to those lenses that we look through, our experiences shape what our box looks like. And it's shaped by what we needed most, by what we were afraid of. And again, the part that really matters is that there are patterns. There are, according to the Enneagram, 9 distinct patterns that humans use to make sense of the world that they live in. And the Enneagram helps us recognize those patterns. So let's zoom out for a second and talk about what the Enneagram actually is. So the word Enneagram comes from the Greek. It means Ennea. Ennea means 9, and gram is a symbol. The 9 points have been traced over lots of cultures and traditions. The modern Enneagram was developed in the 1970s by a philosopher named Oscar Ichazo and a psychiatrist named Claudio Naranjo. They connected that ancient wisdom to modern psychology. So the IEQ-9, which is the assessment that I use, is one of the most scientifically validated Enneagram tools out there, and it has a 95% reliability, and some say even higher. So, but it's not just a personality test. It's a system that describes those 9 core motivations that we just talked about with the box. And each one of those core motivation fills in the sentence that says, I'll be okay if I achieve, if I help people, if I make peace with my neighbors. And we all choose one of those strategies very early in life. And that's how we build our version of that box. And the good news is that the Enneagram gives us choices. It helps us see the box we're in, and that's where self-awareness starts turning into growth. So what makes the Enneagram different from other personality assessments or systems is that it doesn't just describe what you do, but it describes why you do it. It reveals that deeper level. So the why is super powerful because it shows you what those strategies were that helped you get your needs met. And when those needs weren't met, it shows you the triggers and defenses that are automatic that keep you stuck. So the most importantly, it gives you the key to the door to get out of the box. So it's
Natalie, I love your picture of the box, the cardboard,
yeah,
because I think sometimes, like it's been raining and your cardboard's soggy and all, like you're still dragging that box around with you
yeah,
because it's been there forever. We just keep dragging it around with us.
right.
Ah,
Yeah.
so good.
And I've put we talked about the 9 strategies, they're numbers 1 through 9. You saw some people put some numbers in the chat early on. These are the strategies that we use. So for an 8, it's being strong and being in control. For a 7, it's experiencing it all. We heard that from Sherry. We heard a couple of you saying being productive, being successful, achieving, avoiding conflict, creating harmony. We heard as well. So that's how those early strategies fit into the Enneagram construct. So let's take it one step further. So when you're reacting from fear or from those familiar patterns, there are red flags that we can notice about ourselves, because that gives us the opportunity to take a breath, pause, create something different, or be able to even just say, oh, I'm living in my box. So some of the patterns that we see around box thinking, you overreact to small things. So your reactions don't match what's going on. You may have extreme anxiety over a relatively small mistake, or disproportionate anger when someone provides feedback. And this suggests that those early coping strategies or mechanisms are defense mechanisms are working in you. Same conflict, different people. Do you react the same way to someone at work or a situation at work and maybe someone at home? Do you hear yourself saying always or never? That sounds like my 6-year-old granddaughter who says, I never get to eat dessert. Classic signs that formed in childhood. The same old story. I'm only lovable if I succeed. I can't need anymore. I have to be strong. Those rules of safety might still be at play in your situation. Are you triggered and on autopilot? Restlessness, that masked performer. The important thing about this is that there are some questions that you can ask yourself when you recognize one of those red flags. And I'm going to send you a handout so you can see those things. But what do you do when you've got a red flag that pops up? Observe yourself, take a moment, look at what's going on. You can get an assist from other people. That can be really valuable. But remember, you show up differently in different situations. So you may need to ask somebody at work or ask somebody at home to really get to the root of that situation, depending on where it's happening. And lastly, if you don't know your number, you want to see your box a little better, you're not sure your number's right, I am here to be your Enneagram guide. I am running a special right now for the next 72 hours. I may say 48 on the handout, but I'll give you an extra 24. 50% off all of my Enneagram programs. So I have a short, just understand your type and your subtype, to a 3-month long Enneagram deep dive and transformation. So the QR code will be on the handout. This is the QR code if you want to just schedule a 30-minute discovery call to talk through what your options are. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of an idea of what your box looks like, and some hope to understand that you've got the power to get outside of that box if you choose to.
Yes, and I know for those of you, well, we all rely on other people to get anything done. It's all about relationships and people. But I wish there was a visual so that we could see everybody hauling their box around
I know.
with them,
Yes. I
It's so
certainly
easy
haul
to
mine
forget.
around.
I love
And
this. Thank you so much. I know it's 8:50 and a lot of you got to get out there changing the world. If you do, have a fantastic day, and we'll be back here next month with some more good stuff for you. But those of you who want to hang around, we've got some extra time. But I want to thank Natalie, especially because she got in at 3 o'clock this morning from her trip. And yet here she is. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it so much. I'm going to
Thank
stop
you.
our recording. So if you guys want to hang around, we will happily do that because I could talk about the Enneagram for a long time. It revealed a whole lot about myself, and to think that I could go back as far as I could remember and that behavior was there.
Yeah.
That belief was there. So we'll see you guys next month. If you've got to jump off, thank you. I'm stopping, and then we can continue this conversation if you